I know I've been gone a long time. My brother has been down. He been sick. He been sick, but I'm getting better. And you know me, I cannot start a show off without giving this positive message, which is the one that I know that somebody during this holiday season had a rough time. They've made some decisions and had some thoughts that didn't quite seem natural, that didn't quite seem normal, or maybe it didn't quite in line with what their heart really felt. But I can tell you this one thing, that every battle that you go into is going to come with its own challenges. The benefit of it is the battles that you go into are only chosen for you because you can weather the storm of those battles. Somebody right now is listening. I'm happy that you were here. I'm happy that you kept fighting. I'm happy that you stayed in the battle. I'm happy that you decided to make a decision to be present. If you're that person right now who are sitting up there thinking of harming yourself or harming somebody else, or you're thinking of just saying, you know what, enough is enough and this is it, don't. You get an opportunity to make a decision that not only that we can live with, but that you can live with as well by dialing three simple numbers, 988. Don't take any type of money. Don't even take you giving them your name. You can simply just call somebody and talk to them and get this off your chest. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them what it is that you are thinking about. If you have a plan, if you're deciding to do this, talk to someone. So before you make a decision that we have to live with, make the one that you can live with and get help. Now let's talk football.
Fight me.
What's going on, Pride Nation? We are back at it again with another video. I know this was going to be a shocker to y'all because you're like, yo, where did this come from and why are you not fully live? Well, I adapt to my guests and you don't understand. My guest is so special that I was willing to do whatever it took to get this man on this show. I was willing to sell it out. You may be wondering, well, Luke, where you been? I've had the rough 3 weeks, I could probably say, in my life. From having COVID 2 weeks ago to then basically enjoying Christmas with the entire house, including myself, wife, and children, with the flu. It has been a journey, people. It has been a journey. I have been getting my butt whooped on top of just work, okay? But I got a special guest today. I got somebody who work speaks for itself. Somebody who work got me feeling like I'm ready to go play ball again. Somebody who work inspired me to just be like, you know what? Got to work harder because if he ain't taking no days off, and he's pumping these videos out like the neighborhood dealer. He's not playing with you people. I'm talking about somebody who is very knowledgeable of the game. That is Mr. Coach DC from All 22 Films. Coach, what's going on, brother?
Hey man, I guess I can't. I guess I can't disappoint after that intro. If I ever get put into a Hall of Fame or something like that, you doing my intro, just so you know.
Hey, listen, make the phone call. I'll be there. I promise you, I'm gonna pull up for you.
All right,
Listen,
long ride or plane fight, but man, I appreciate it. We've been talking about it for a while, and I'm glad to be here, and hope I can fit in where I'm supposed to fit in, and we can talk some football, some Lions football specifically, because like we talked pre-show, I think that this is a special season, and this team can go further than even a lot of its fans realize.
yeah, and I think the scary part about it is most fans are not used to this level of success, so they're a little bit put off by it. They're a little bit like, should I buy in or should I not? And I'm of the belief that yeah, buy in. They're doing good things. I could see if they were doing just all these bad things and stuff. They're beating teams they should beat. They've beaten some teams that people probably never gave them a chance to beat. But they did. And so I take that and I go, you know what? I'm riding with it. They're NFC North champs. God, that sounds good. You know, it's been since 1993, and we wasn't even the NFC North. We was the NFC Central.
Right.
Think about that, right? But man, listen, I don't want to keep you too long because I got a lot to cover. And the first thing I got to talk about is this. Let's let the people know more about you and your channel. It is linked in the description, people. So if you just want to do it, and it's also featured channel on my thing. So on my channel. So if you want to click on it, it's not hard to find. But tell the people about your channel, how you got started, a little bit of your background, because I'm pretty sure that they watch the videos, they see you doing a breakdown, but they don't know who's the man behind that beautiful magic that's going on your film breakdowns.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it again, but that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the design. I like to run the channel and not have my face all over the place. I'm about the film. I think that's for whatever I can offer people to either help them appreciate the game more, enjoy the game more, or notice things that maybe they didn't notice is more important than me showing my face or making it about me. Now, that's not saying that everybody who puts their face on their YouTube channel, that's the reason why they're doing it. But for me personally, I'd rather just get right into the film on my channel. And it came out because of really the pandemic. I started to be home. I'm a worker, Luke. Whatever I do, we talked about it before the show, I'm going to do with so much effort that, you're either going to ride with me or you're going to stop riding, period. Because I just don't believe in doing things half effort, half speed. And so when the pandemic came around and I was home, I needed something to do while I was home with my oldest son. So I started a YouTube channel basically because of a Ravens content creator named Sip the Tally, Coach Evans. I actually just appeared on his show earlier today. And I was watching his channel and seeing him do breakdowns and just appreciating it and having fun. He had intros kind of similar to yours, a nice vibe just like yours is. And I don't know that I can recreate that vibe, but in terms of the film and trying to bring people material, my beginnings were very rough. I look back on the videos I did in 2020 and I'm embarrassed, but now through, meeting people like yourself and others and gaining other experiences, I felt comfortable branching out to Lions content this year after, the better part of 2 years just doing Ravens content and sporadic stuff on other teams. And I decided, no, I'm going to go all in on these two teams because I believe in the personnel they got and the coaches there, and I believe in the teams. And right now, it certainly looks like a good decision as it stands. Week 17. We'll see where we are 4, 5, 6 weeks from now. I hope we end up where I want us to be. Let's put it that way.
Listen, let me tell you, I can't tell you how many of your videos have helped me win debates. I've crushed a lot of people just off of your video. I'm like, no, go over here. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it in real time. And I mean, when the Ravens took Kyle Hamilton, and in fact, I wanted Kyle Hamilton over Aiden Hutchinson, only for the purposes that, hey, we needed a safety really bad, and I was trying to shore up the middle of the field. And at that particular draft, I was like, hey, we got other people we can take. We can take a Boye Mafe. I feel like you'll get that, or you can get a George Karlaftis. We had like 2 first-round picks anyway. So
you mean depth, later on in the first round, second round, really good player. Boye Mafe is one of my favorite dudes to watch film of. That guy. That guy, I think, is not to digress here. I think Boye Mafe is going to be a guy who will be an all-pro at some point during his career. The physical gifts are ridiculous. But anyway, go ahead. My bad.
No, I'm just telling you that's how I felt about him and George Karlaftis. And I was like, look, take the safety. He's an unusual talent. And every time I watch these games, I'm just like, he jumps off the screen. So, but I say that to say this, that you have helped me win a number of debates. And then there was a number of videos that you dropped that I instantly posted on my channel's community page. And,
thank you, man.
the love that the Lion Pride Nation, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Listen, the love that y'all get doing videos every Lion video, I think you was like 2, 3, 4,000, 6,000. Like,
I don't know. I just know that, you know, when I made the decision in the off season, I had done probably, you know, James Houston at fourth for me was the guy whose story, whose style of play, whose gifts, he was gifted, obviously, as an edge rusher, particularly against the pass, was a guy whose story, you know, just appealed to me. And late 2022, deciding to do some more Lions content, and then in the off season, focus on the offense. I was like, man, you know, I thought I enjoyed Ben Johnson's offense in the 2022 season, but then when I watched and did some film studies in the off season, I was like, I didn't know a damn thing about his offense. You know, in the off season with time and the ability to watch stuff, I was more impressed with the offense. And then told my wife in the off season, I was like, I think I'm going to do, you know, film studies every week on the Lions as well, because I really like this team. I love their offensive style. And I'm a huge James Houston at four fan. He's probably one of my top 5 favorite players in the league. Unfortunately, you know, he hasn't been able to play many snaps this year. So I think that's had an impact on their ability to get to the quarterback, kind of like we talked about before the show.
Yeah. You preaching.
But that to me is where this started. And then, you know, it's a snowball effect, Luke, you know, from making videos or personal life, work life, professional life. When you have positive experiences with people, and the comments were always just so overwhelming, and seeing people like yourself sharing my content, I was like, man, I'm just humbled that a whole fan base, or a lot of the fan base, excuse me, you know, is willing to share stuff. I had very limited negative interactions with Lions content creators, maybe one, and I just ignored it and moved on because I'm not here for negativity. I'm here to try to promote the game.
It's always a toxic one. You know how every family got that black sheep. It's always the one. You know, it's always one.
Yeah, I've just been blown away and really, you know, feel humbled and blessed to be able to do this. And it's a challenge for me to try to cover 2 teams with as much passion and knowledge as I can offer. So it's been fun. And man, I think we got 2 stories that are going to converge possibly again, and that will be an amazing experience. So I'm looking forward to it.
So off rip, you know, I got to get into the X's and O's. I gotta talk about it because you talked about Ben Johnson. There's been a lot of talk about Ben Johnson. Tomorrow he won $15 million per year. His agent says this story is absolutely fabricated. It's not true. But you know, just to pick it up from right there, you know, based on the film that you have watched, how important is Ben Johnson to the success of the Lions, from what you can see just through the film?
I mean, just through the film, for the product that we see on the field, it is a unique product, I think. I think Tony Romo said it very well 2 or 3 weeks ago. Actually, it was more than that. Sorry. It was the 4th and 5 trap play where David Montgomery converts at the Chargers. The drive where they went for a 4th down 3 times, I believe. Yep. Scored on a 4th down play. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, off the left side. I might be wrong on that part. But Tony Romo said nobody does this. Nobody runs a run play on 4th and 5, let alone a inside trap. I think Ben Johnson is a guy who understands the geometry and the angles of modern NFL defenses, and he's figured out some ways to manipulate them in certain situations. Not every snap, not every play, because I think his offense probably resembles a, quote, modern offense 40 to 45% of the time, somewhere around there. I think his offense probably differs somewhat from a modern NFL offense 30 to 35% of the time. And then I think you've got a remaining percent of the time, you know, 20%, 25%, somewhere in that area, that is drastically different from the rest of the NFL. And so I have said this in my Discord. We've got a Lions Discord that I'm not trying to self-promote here, but it's got
promote. This is a self-promote show.
Yeah, we will. But it's a small group, and it's kind of tight knit. And I've said to these guys a couple times, I wonder if Ben Johnson has 2 play call sheets. And what I mean by that is, you know, you see guys with a play call sheet that's got a front and back, and it's got their play calls and all these down and distances and all this stuff. And I don't know how I began to have this realization. I have wondered if Ben Johnson is a guy who has a play call sheet made up just like every other NFL coordinator, and then has this other sheet over here that's created in some other manner. Maybe it's created by someone else on the staff. Maybe it's created by a group effort, but that it kind of goes against the grain of maybe his own tendencies. And so I just think there's some real genius and brilliance there. I'd like to be able to sit in on a meeting and just listen and appreciate what he does, because I think how much Dan Campbell is involved in the offense play calling, I don't know, and I don't care. The product that's on the field is what you asked me about. The film that's there for me to access and hopefully understand some of it and relate it to the fans. I just, I'm blown away. Has there been times where I've been disappointed in some of the play calls? Yeah, sure. But he's committed to who they are. I loved the last week against the Vikings. I think it was a 4th down touchdown run by Montgomery for the first touchdown on first drive. Is that correct?
It was.
First drive. I loved. Let me pull it up right here on my other computer. I believe it was a first drive. Get to it 1 second.
And just so y'all know, to show y'all how organized he is, he's operating 2 computers to make sure that he keep this stuff
accurate,
tightly accurate.
It was a 3rd and goal. It was a 3rd and goal from the 1. My apologies, on the first drive. And they went jumbo 23. So 2 running backs, one of which was Craig Reynolds, one of which was Montgomery, and then they 3 tight ends on the field. But one of them was Skipper. I like that in certain moments, Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson will be who they are. 3rd and goal from the 1, first drive against the Vikings. Vikings defense been playing very well lately. I like that they'll say, we're going to line up here, and we're going to smash our heads together, and we're going to see who moves the other guy. And, in this case, the Lions got the touchdown. I enjoy that compared to some of the modern NFL offenses on 3rd and goal. They're going to get 11 personnel. Quarterback's going to be in the shotgun and all this pretty stuff that I think goes a little bit away from what I consider to be the fabric of the game over decades. So, in any case, that's my answer to your question.
No, I mean, for me personally, I know that with any genius, you're going to have frustrations. And it's the reality. His play calling has been unique this season, I would say, because I do think there was times where, now that you put it, when you talk about the 2 play sheets, I'm like, yeah, maybe he has to have 2, because I've seen some calls that I'm like, yeah, I don't get this one.
Yeah, where'd this come from? Yeah, no, me too.
Like, what is this one about? But I've seen some calls where I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. And one of the things about me is I don't like to assign blame or give accolades unless it's justified, right? So when players
obvious. Yeah.
So when players execute, I give props to the players. You executed, good play call, good execution, great. When I can see a good play call and it's poor execution, I don't blame coach. I blame players. And to me, there were some times where, I'm noticing patterns with some of the play calling. That I'm like, I don't know if we should be doing this or this. But again, I'm like you. I don't care how much Dan Campbell has his hand in the offense, because I believe they're the 2 personalities of one head. You know what I mean? So to me, if Ben Johnson's the rational one thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't get into this, Dan Campbell's the attitude, man, F it, we're here. Okay,
yeah, right.
And we're going to get this done. All right. So we here. If they want problems, we're going to have problems. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. That's how I feel about it. And that brings me to the other side of the ball, because a lot of the Lions have been really, really down on Aaron Glenn. They have been in full-fledged attack mode on Aaron Glenn. I have been one of Aaron Glenn's biggest supporters. What are your thoughts, looking at the opposite side of Ben Johnson and some of the things that Ben Johnson has done? What are your thoughts on Aaron Glenn as it pertains to his tenure here with the Lions, or just this season in general?
Yeah, I think one of the weaknesses of what I'm trying to do with my channel is look at things on a week by week basis. For the most part, you would be negligent if I didn't string things together and notice patterns, over the course of the season. I will say this: I suspect that Aaron Glenn in recent weeks has undergone a little bit of a philosophical change. Now, whether that philosophical change is over the course of 60 minutes or whether it's just for 25 minutes, I don't know. I do feel like there's more safety blitzes recently. Melifonwu seems to be the biggest benefactor of that, but Brian Branch too. I think Brian Branch got 2 sacks in the last 3 games, something like that. It seems to me as if Aaron Glenn is a guy, for whatever reason, that is going to take criticism. Maybe it's something about his personality, something about, I don't know what his press conferences like because I don't watch them. I just don't have time. I will say this. There was a time early in the season where things were very vanilla, and I said it in my videos that I did not think that the talent was there at the D-line position to just say, we're going to line up in, a 9, a 3, a 1, and a 5. And we're going to rush the quarterback with these 4, and we're going to win. I didn't think they had that kind of talent to succeed from a simplistic or, quote, vanilla defensive look. And sure enough, here lately, they've gone to a little bit more multiple, a little bit more versatile coverage-wise, and the blitzes have been a little bit more unpredictable. Giving up 400 yards passing to Mullins of the Vikings, people will complain about, no problem. They did hold the Vikings to 17 rushing yards. So there is some give and take when you shut down one element of the offense. You potentially open yourself up to the other one. Additionally, Justin Jefferson is just a more talented wide receiver than anyone the Lions have trying to cover him. The only guy I would say on the defensive side to cover who has anywhere near equivalent talent is, Brian Branch. He's just a spectacular football player, but even that matchup doesn't land in the Lions' favor most of the time. So for me, I'm not pro Aaron Glenn or anti Aaron Glenn. I do recognize that there's been a little bit of a sea change recently, an attempt to be more multiple. It didn't work in the rematch against the Bears in Chicago. It didn't. Justin Fields got loose a little bit. It didn't work. It certainly has worked for the most part since then, being a little bit more aggressive, and Melifonwu seems to have given Glenn a little bit more options. Maybe Tracy Walker wasn't capable of these things. I don't know. I think they're trending in the right direction defensively. The return of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, another one of my favorite football players, just because of his mentality, his attitude, I think gives them more options. I don't think it's a problem to have another good football player coming back. I think it's a good thing.
No, I agree. I think that one of the biggest misconceptions that was put out there about Aaron Glenn is he doesn't adjust. And I'm like, I see it all the time. I see the adjustments. I just saw players who wasn't executing. Tracy Walker, I think, didn't have a problem in that role. But the difference that I'm noticing now is that the person that they're putting in that role is executing better. And so at that point, if he is the guy that's going to do that, let him do it. Let him continue to have success. Yep. You know what I mean? As long as he's succeeding, I don't care. And I've always told people that Tracy Walker and Kirby Joseph are the same people. They play the same. Every time I watch them, I literally feel like I'm watching the same guy. If they didn't have different numbers, I'd have thought they were the same guy. So I've been very open in pointing that out. People are like, oh, you're crazy. They're totally different. Kirby's a ball hawk, and I'm like, I will tell you this. Kirby definitely ticked me off last Saturday when he caught the interception and began celebrating instead of just turning and running. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, the game is far from over. Like, get focused. And so I get what you're saying. I just think that there was a lot of heat on him because we've had a bad defense for like the last 6 seasons. And this is where I go to the general manager and I go, what did you do to really help this defense be better? Like, you went out and got secondary help, but one of those guys was out for the season after 1 or 2 snaps. You went out and got a very good guy in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He gets hurt. You lose James Houston, who I've said from the moment he came on the scene, he was our best pass rusher, to which I was told I was a hater because Aiden Hutchinson is the best pass rusher. And I'm just telling people that's just not true. It's just not true. But these little things stand out to me. One of the things that that made me want to do this collaboration with you was you had a video and you were breaking down the I want to say it was the Lions versus Packers game. It was
The
the
Thanksgiving game.
Thanksgiving game, and you was very open and honest about what you saw in that game, and there was a lot of poor execution, missed tackles, just it just wasn't their day. But in that particular game, you talked about somebody again, Aiden Hutchinson. And you talked about it earlier. You said, "Hey, I don't know if you get the talent on the D line to just be playing so vanilla." From the film that you watched, what do you make of Aiden Hutchinson at this point?
Well, let me answer it by talking about that what I would consider 4-week stretch where the defense was not adjusting. And when I say not adjusting, I don't mean every snap, because you certainly do see evidence of them making adjustments during the game. I mean, that should be obvious to anyone. Having said that, there was that 4-week stretch of games where the Lions went 2-2, but I mean, realistically, you could have gone on 4.
Right.
You had the come from behind win against the Bears with it. Aiden Hutchinson, puts a cherry on top with the strip sack. I thought the right tackle for the Bears did a pretty good job that day, that home game against Aiden Hutchinson. I do think that there, on some level, some edge rushers stay on one side. Like, for example, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith is on the Steelers' right. TJ Watt's on the left. You know where they're going to be. What's the benefits? I mean, I know that you know, but you play on one side. You get to practice your technique on one side and one side only. Think of a combat sports guy who only fights as a southpaw. You're not practicing your jab, your hook, slipping punches from an orthodox or right-handed stance. So there's some benefits to Aiden Hutchinson only playing on the left. I did feel like early in the season when he was kicked inside a little bit, that helped him some, particularly the Chiefs game. Did Juwan Taylor get away with some bending of the rules in week 1? Absolutely. Clearly.
Of course.
Yeah, he did. I think he's been called for 14 or 15 penalties this year. So, they chose not to call some of them in week 1. Cool. But when Aiden Hutchinson kicked inside that game and he went up against the right guard twice, I think in the third quarter, he obliterated the guy. I think it would benefit Aiden Hutchinson to be moved around. Think about LeBron from a basketball comparison. I know you're a Detroit guy, and a lot of people listening are Detroit people. So, the Cleveland-Detroit matchups, not fond memories in some ways. But modern basketball now is pick and roll based. It's matchup based. LeBron comes down, they run screen and roll until he forces Steph Curry to guard him. Well, that's a matchup he's going to win every damn time. Look at the physicality of the matchup, number one. So to compare that to Aiden Hutchinson, when you get him kicked inside against a guard who doesn't have the mobility or athletic, the fast twitch to deal with the spin moves, that benefits Aiden Hutchinson. You can't do that if you don't have other complementary rushers to move outside. And I think to your point about James Houston IV, he absolutely is the best outside speed rusher that this Lions roster has. There's no question. Bruce Irvin, if you got him at, was he 35, 36 now?
Yeah, 35, 36.
If he was 31 or 30 years old, that conversation will be different. But a healthy James Houston IV allows Aiden Hutchinson to move around a little bit more. I don't think, and Lee McNeil too, man. A healthy Lee McNeil, a healthy James Houston IV. Aiden Hutchinson there as an edge rusher. I mean, you have the components, at least on paper, to get done what you need to get done with. To your question, which I still haven't answered about Aiden Hutchinson, I think he's a guy who could go 3, 4, 5 weeks where not getting a sack, but getting multiple pressures or quarterback hits like we talked about before the show. And then he could go through a 2-week stretch where he gets 4.5 sacks. That's the nature of edge rushers to a certain extent. I would like to see him. He's 6'7", right?
Yep. No, he's 6'6". I think he's 6'6".
So 6'6", 6'7". He's a tall dude. I feel like there's some times where he plays a little bit high.
Oh, I agree. Trust me, I agree. When you're getting blocked by tight ends, and I'm looking at him like, why is his face like face to face with you? Get down, like drop your butt. Yeah, he's definitely coming in too high.
And he would, but I also do feel like the conversation around Aiden Hutchinson, this conversation happened in 2022. It did happen in 2022. And then there was this, like a rubber band that snaps. All of a sudden, he put up, a couple interceptions, 3 or 4 sacks over a 3 or 4 game period. So I do think that when the pass rush is so reliant on him producing, any dip in production is going to look to be highlighted more because no one else is getting things done either. Now, this change in philosophy to blitzing more could have an impact on him in a positive way. I feel like I've seen him drop out in pass coverage more in the last 2 or 3 weeks than I remembered, and he didn't look bad doing it. Number one, number two, it creates a level of unpredictability in the offensive line if they're going to kick their coverage to his side, which I feel like 3 of the DB sacks that have happened recently, or quarterback hits at least, has been blitzes away from Aiden Hutchinson's side. So Vildor's hit on Russell Wilson in Week 15. One of Melifonwu's sacks through the B gap late. One of Brian Branch's blitzes as well, to my knowledge, lately, has been blitzes away from Aiden Hutchinson, where the pass pro appears to be kicked towards him, and whether by design or whether by sheer chance, the safety blitz opposite that side ends up getting to the quarterback. So is that adjustments by Aaron Glenn? Is it, would you like to see Aiden Hutchinson just pure rush more? Sure. But you have to adjust, and you have to utilize your players in a way. If you can't get pressure with just the 4 guys lining up here and winning, you got to find other ways to do it. I do feel like Aaron Glenn has done that recently.
And another thing that has stood out with me about Aiden Hutchinson in particular is he's not using that spin move so much, where he's taking himself inside, leaving the outside lanes open. The last time he did it, he admitted that it was a mistake on his part. It was his fault. And
the Bears game,
he said that was him. It was on him. He also did it on Thanksgiving Day with Jordan Love. He spent inside, and Jordan Love took the outside easily. Oh, okay. And so I love that he took that accountability for it. My thing with Aiden has been, when you get the one-on-ones, I expect you to dominate it. Even in last week's game, he got a few one-on-ones. I'm like, okay, he won that one. That one you probably should have won, but you didn't. Okay. I just look at these moments where I get excited when my guy that I believe in performs in the way that I think he should perform.
Yeah, I think of the depth of the D line also is a factor, because I know there's been some games where I watch it and I'm like, man, he never came off the field. He played a lot of snaps, and yourself from personal experience, you get to late third quarter and you feel like you're at 85, 88, maybe 90% of your capability. There has to be times where he's rotated in and out. You can't do that though if you don't have some other talented guys. Now, you're not going to have another Aiden Hutchinson. You're not. But if you have a James Houston IV, a Bruce Irvin, like we talked about pre-show, I've been a little bit impressed by Romeo Okwara. Earlier in the year, you're playing Charles Harris off the edge, and he's not getting it done.
Nope.
There's other guys that just weren't getting it done. I am interested in what happens now with C.J. Gardner-Johnson returning. Do they get into more dime looks defensively, where you have a little bit more speed on the field, particularly in passing situations, 3rd and 6, 2nd and 8. This line's defense is very good against the run. The Packers did get some things done. I think the Packers ran for 140 on Thanksgiving Day, a little bit too much for my interest level. But for the most part this year, I feel like they've done a really good job against the run. And the pass game has been
different on you a little bit from there, because I think contextual. Excuse me again, people. I am trying to get over the flu. But I think I'm a slightly disagree with you. I went through every game I watched, and watched some more, and then I went and I compared it to the stats, and I was like, oh, they just didn't try to run on us. Like the team,
Yeah, I mean that's a dynamic certain times. Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
and a lot of the teams that we shut down the run, they just didn't try. they just did not try. The ones who tried, oh, they definitely happened. It happens, but I think that's because you talk about that depth part where we got injuries, we got people who are playing hurt, we got people who are, like you said, not getting off the, being able to come off the game and stuff, like a lot of the times, or they come out for a short period of time and they got to go right back in.
I think the athletic quarterback dynamic is one that
absolutely
this Lions team in particular has had trouble with it. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I think they're still top 5 in the league, in the least amount of rushing yards allowed. Now it might be, maybe top 7, top 8, but it's somewhere in. I know there's no way they're any worse than top 10 to my knowledge.
No, I think you're about right. Without me even looking it up, from what I can remember, they're still in that thing. But I just know that there were certain teams who didn't run the ball on us, or we got up on them really quick and they had to abandon that run, and that's great too, right? You want to make sure that you can eliminate that part of it. But you're right. That mobile quarterback has been an issue with us for a while, and it's. Again, I don't like to do the shoulda, woulda, couldas because I'm also the same person who don't believe in draft. I'm sorry. I don't believe in positional value in the draft. I believe
absolutely, yeah.
I believe that if you draft a guy and he plays well, who in the hell cares where you got him at? Everybody was really upset about Jahmyr Gibbs at being 12th overall. Nobody's sad about it now. Nobody.
Exactly.
Right? Like. Everybody, their mother was confused. Like I said if the Lions wanted to make a move in this draft, if you're not taking Jalen Carter, the only thing you can take is a running back. That's the most sound thing. And people are like, oh, you're crazy. And that's what they did. And I was like, good job, Brad Holmes. Way to just go ahead and tell everybody F your positional value. I love.
What did he? I think my video that night after the first round draft was the title was "We Don't Care."
Yes, we don't care.
That's what Brad said.
Care.
We don't care, and I love it because there's a lot of people who comment on football and do articles and social media stuff and videos on football now that we didn't hear 15, 20 years ago, and there's something to be said for muting some of those people now. Because they don't really add value. All they do is distract. To act like running backs and inside linebackers and safeties aren't important is folly.
Oh wait, you know what? Hold on. I got to do this. I got to do this because I have said this many times. In fact, me and another content creator who goes by the name of Mike, aka Mike Kimber. Shout out to him. We kept saying linebacker lives matter. Like these linebackers and safeties matter. To the people who may not have heard that in the back, let me just tell you.
Man, I'm right about him. I'm always right. It's like when I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong, I could have been right. So I'm still right because I could have been wrong.
That makes sense.
But I was right. Right, because these are the things that I'm looking at that I'm saying, hey, if you get these 3 positions shored up, I'm telling you, your defense is going to run different. You get a good interior D lineman, a good inside linebacker, and a safety. Oh my God! Go and look at the 2000 Ravens. And go and look at the 2004 Buccaneers, 2 of the greatest defenses to ever play. Mm-hmm. And I can go back years further than that, but just look at those 2. Tell me they didn't have an interior guy, an inside guy, and a safety. Tell me they didn't have those.
Well, now you're looking at with C.J. Gardner-Johnson coming back, in a crazy way, the strength of this team is now the safety position. You've got 4 guys who can play. And now I would say that Kirby Joseph is different from Brian Branch, Mel Afonwu, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Agree.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson can do what Kirby Joseph can do. But CJ Gardner-Johnson can also do a lot of the things that Brian Branch and Melifonwu can do.
Correct.
I hope Melifonwu continues this level of play and opportunity. I said it earlier. I'd like to see him play more dime, be a little lighter on pass rush situations, and find out if teams are willing to run the ball on 3rd and 6 or willing to run the ball on 2nd and 8. That Packers game, I think this defense is different. I really do. I think this defense is different now from what we saw during that 4-game stretch where, like I said, if you don't get the miracle win over the Bears, and when I say miracle, I mean, the offense scored to end the second quarter against the Bears at home. And then the offense scored 17. Well, the offense scored, 15 points in the fourth quarter. And then the safety, later on finished it off. If you don't do that, you could very easily be 1-3 in that stretch. And damn near could have been 0-4 because the win over the Saints, ended up being 33-28 down there. So fortunately, the Lions were able to get 2 of those wins. I think this defense is a different animal, although I understand people are going to disagree with that because, Nick Mullins just threw for 400 yards last week in Minnesota.
And to be fair, because I have been pointing this out too, that some of the numbers that you're seeing with this defense is a direct result of the offense, which is why Dan Campbell has been adamant about the disappointments in some of these losses when it came to the offense.
Yes.
You scoring 13 points in a game don't sound right for this offense. You
mean at Chicago?
Man, don't get me started. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it PG. But the offense is giving them a lot of bad positions between the turnovers, the 4 and outs, sometimes 3 and outs, the fumbles, all these things make a difference and stuff. And so I do want to switch gears because I do want to talk about patterns. I pay attention to patterns. Give me some patterns that you've noticed with the Detroit Lions that's happened in the regular season that you think or that you feel need to follow over to the playoffs. So
you want like offensive side or defensive side or
listen, this is your world.
It's not. It's not, but thank you.
I'm telling you, but I'm listen, I want you to, because I enjoy what you do so much. That's why I'm leaving it open for you. Like you give me offense, defense, but what's that pattern that you go, this needs to carry over?
Well, man,
to the playoffs.
First of all, like I said in the intro, like thank you, for the kind words. Like this isn't something I ever considered that I'd be doing, and certainly didn't expect to have the audience like I have on YouTube and Twitter, and didn't expect to hear people like yourself say such kind things about the work that I try to do. So, thank you. Let's do it this way. Defensively, I think there's some advantage to your defense, your scheme, the things you put on film changing over the course of the year. Think of some of those teams where the coordinator has been fired during the season. There's a little bit of an advantage for the next guy coming in, presumably who's been on staff, because there isn't this accumulation of data over the course of 16, well, now 17 games that teams in the playoffs can use against you. You didn't fire Aaron Glenn, but if you co-sign what I said earlier, he's kind of changed tactics a little bit, particularly early in the game. I think you saw a little bit of evidence of it in the Saints game, but not as much. There wasn't as much safety blitzing. There certainly wasn't as much diversity in coverage. And if you ask me, he's played a little bit more zone dropping coverage with blitzers, bringing 4 or 5. So there's some advantages to that. When you're talking about patterns, breaking patterns is really what I'm saying. Because I don't think you can just stand there and play the same coverages over and over with these outside corners. And I do really like Cam Sutton, but over on the other side, unless Vildor is a better player, a markedly better player than Jerry Jacobs, I think there is a little bit of a talent deficit there, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. They just think it's reality.
The truth hurts. The truth
Yeah.
hurts.
So that's on the defensive side. I would like to see more blitzing of Branch and or Melifonwu. You can include Alex Anzalone in this as well, because I think he's been a productive blitzer. I think he's got 3.5 sacks this year, but I could be wrong.
Yep, he's missed a few, but for the most part, yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, in the last 2 weeks, I got Alex Anzalone blowing 2 or 3 coverages. But you never know watching the film. It could be on someone else. There's other guys nearby. So I would like to see more blitzing of those guys with safer coverages behind, meaning, only bring 4, but make it be an unpredictable 4. So the offensive line doesn't know which 4 are blitzing. And Melifonwu has clearly had an impact in that. So has Branch. Branch, I said it on my channel in a video I put out earlier this week. He reminds me of Ivan Drago a little bit, because whatever he hits, he destroys.
Listen, I love that guy. Listen, I'm telling you, the very first play he made against the Giants, I was like,
yeah,
okay. And ever since then, he's just been making plays.
He's an all-pro. He's an all-pro player, period. He may not make the all-pro team this year, but he's an all-pro caliber player. And you can't say that about some of the other guys that are starting for this defense. I don't mean that disrespectful. It's just reality. Offensively, man, I will tell you, I love what Ben Johnson and those guys do with the under center run game. I know that nowadays it's so crazy for me to be older and see the shift. Everybody thinks that you've got to be in the shotgun in order to run a, quote, modern offense. Ben Johnson's offense is extremely modern. It probably blends some old school concepts, particularly the trap plays. But it's a modern offense under center that utilizes the play action pass game well. I would like to see a little bit more of that. When you look at what they did to the Vikings this past week, they shredded that Vikings defense. For me, 4 drives of 13 plays or more, 4 scoring drives, of 13 plays or more. Got to short field once. So offensively, being able to run the football, run the play action, and then get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown as much as possible. I feel like he's a force of nature. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. I feel like he's one of the best players in the entire league.
What's funny? When I look at the trends that I need to see transforming, it's a combination on the defense. So for me, it's the Isaiah Buggs, Pascal, Romeo Core, and Aiden Hutchinson as your down 4. I'm noticing that with them 4 out there, with them particular 4 out there, Pascal, Buggs, Aiden Hutchinson, the interchangeability that you can play with out of those 4, that's got to go over to the playoffs. Because a lot of times, like you said, the pro stats is kicking over towards Aiden's side, but I'm noticing that more teams are saying, you know what, we're going to give Aiden a one-on-one, and they're rotating that to the inside to try to neutralize the inside guy, especially when Aleem McNeil was in. So hopefully if he come back healthy, I would say put Pascal out there, put Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, and then you still want to run with Romeo Core or whoever that other pass rusher is going to be able to bring the speed off, a.k.a. hopefully that's James Houston. So, but that combination needs to go to the playoffs. In terms of what they're doing scheme-wise with the blitzing and stuff, I'm looking at it on a week-by-week basis because it depends on who we playing, right? Looking at the NFC right now, the most mobile quarterback we're going to go up against in the playoffs, we're not going to probably see until like an NFC championship game. And that may be Jalen Hurts. Maybe.
He seems like he's been struggling with injury as well. I feel like it's a significant impact, and I don't get to watch a ton of Eagles film, but some of the things I've seen just doesn't look like the same level of burst, explosiveness, and fast twitch when Jalen Hurts is healthy. And that team has gone through some coordinator changes as well that I think has impacted them. I said to another Lions fan I spoke to earlier tonight in our Discord, I think the Lions match up with anybody in the NFC.
Hey,
Anybody.
talk to me now. Talk to me. Listen, hold on. You know what? Let me go ahead and surrender. Listen, Lord, take me now. That's it. I surrender. Take me now. Because listen, I don't see too many matchups that scare me. And I had a friend call me yesterday. He was checking on me because I've been battling the flu. And he's like, "Hey, who are you afraid of playing?" I was like, "Nobody." He's like,
I
"What?"
understand that, some Lions fans, the whole Matt Stafford, Sean McVay Rams thing. The
I do.
Rams I mean, I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I
Yeah.
understand it. I can discern, I can make a difference there. But the whole 11 personnel balanced offense that the Rams present is a pain to deal with. They went into Baltimore and dropped 31 points on us. It's a real thing. Having said that, I don't think that the Lions' weakness is the run defense. I just don't. I don't. I think the Lions' defense is the pass game, as it has been displayed throughout the course of the season. How much is that going to change with the new guy, Jerry Jacobs and Tracy Walker being out, and now introducing C.J. Gardner-Johnson into the mix? I think it's possible that the Lions improve their ability to defend the pass. They don't have to be great defensively to win games. I don't think. I think they got to get 5 stops. 5 stops organically, and then 1 turnover, maybe 2 turnovers, or maybe the offense has a spectacular day. Look at how they beat the Chargers on the road, 41-38, I believe. And they got 3 stops out of the first 4 possessions, and that was it. I don't think they got another stop after that. And they still figured out a way to win the game. That's the blueprint on a bad day for your defense right now. But with the big playability that you have on the field, Branch is healthy, Melifonwu's a playmaker, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph make plays. If you get James Houston, a 4th back, I think the formula is there so long as Aleem McNeil can return to his high-level play. He's an underrated dude, man. But I like Bugs, too. It's so cool that you mentioned him because I think he's a baller. I noticed him last year in the Packers game, the regular season finale. I thought he was a baller back then. I like Pascal on the inside as a pass rusher, Kaminsky on the inside as a pass rusher, but you can't have both of them two on the inside and Aleem McNeil in pass rush situations. You got to kind of, and again, that goes back to the depth thing. If all these guys are around, if all these guys are healthy, you don't have to ride any single player, for 55, 60, 65 snaps a game. That to me, I remember watching when they came and played in Baltimore in the season. I remember thinking to myself, there's not guys being rotated in. There wasn't a whole lot of depth there. And that was revealed, I thought, mid-second quarter. I remember texting a friend of mine saying, man, I feel bad saying this. I feel like we could score 50 on this team today. If they played each other right now, the way Aaron Glenn's defense is set up, I don't think that's the case.
Listen, you ain't gonna get too much pushback from me on certain things, 'cause I feel like you make some very valid points. I think that this team is still a work in progress, right?
That's true.
That falls to the general manager to get the talent. You have to get the talent. This is why I don't care about positional value in draft, because I only want the talent. We can talk about positional value and go, oh, well, you took Laporta in the 2nd round. Yeah, but if I took him 2nd overall and he's still performing like this, you think I care? No. I don't care. I want him to perform. That's the only thing I care about is, does he perform? I don't want to keep you too much longer. I got 2 more questions and we can get out of here. This last.
Are you good, man? I can talk about Sam Laporta all day. That dude is unique talent in a league of freak athletes. It's ridiculous the film that Sam Laporta has put out in his rookie year, and he's on the same offense as St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs, just total anomalies as players, man. It's a unique situation in Detroit. Like I said earlier, man, like I don't put any outcome for this season outside of my head. Could they lose in the 1st round at home? Sure. Could they get to an NFC title game and then you never know what happens? Absolutely. Especially if they end up with, what's the chances? What's the circumstances? Excuse me. Let me ask you a question. What needs to happen besides beating Dallas and beating the Vikings for the Lions to get home field advantage? How close is it to happening? I don't know.
Well, they have home field advantage for the first playoff game, but to get the number 1 seed for home field advantage throughout the playoffs, they need for the 49ers to lose all their games that remain on their schedule.
Well, the 49ers got 4 losses right now. So do the Lions, right?
The Lions got 4 as well, correct.
Yeah.
So the Lions would need to win out, which would then give them the 13-4 record.
Mm-hmm.
They would need for San Francisco to lose out or at least lose one game, giving them a 12-5 record. They would need for the Eagles to lose out because the Eagles have 4 losses.
I think it's 4 for the Eagles. So if you beat the Cowboys and the Eagles and Niners lose one more game, then you got it. I mean, that certainly sounds far-fetched. It does.
Yeah, but you would have to, because you look at the remaining schedule. I mean, the Eagles got the Giants and the Commanders next, I think, or something like that.
I don't think. Yeah, for some reason I was mistaken. I thought the Eagles played the Cowboys, so I was mistaken.
No, they played them already. They did it. They did
right.
Two. They won one. They won one, lost one. But Dallas losing that game like they did,
right?
That helped. So is it still possible for us to get the number 1 seed stuff? Yes. Is it based on
likely? Yeah, right.
No. So for me, I have gotten to the point where you're going to get the home field advantage that first game, right?
Maybe the second too. Yeah.
Maybe the second, depending on how that go. But win that game, and let's worry about the rest of it afterwards, because it's too complicated to start playing. Well, we should have, would have, could have did this. If we could have, would have, yeah, but that could have happened in the other way negatively too. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I saw a stat this week that was like if you took every 1-score game in the NFL and you reversed the winner. So I guess the idea is if the Lions beat the Bears. What did the final score end up being the week before Thanksgiving? And it was close.
You know what? I'm gonna look it up. I can't.
It was close because the Bears were leading most of the game, and then the Lions scored 17 points in the last 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Right.
Yep.
So if the idea, I guess, is to illustrate 1-score games. There's some variability in who wins. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, like you said.
Yep.
And they showed the stat, and I certainly didn't mean for this to spin towards the Ravens, but if you reversed the winner of every 1-score game, I think the Ravens would still be 12-3. So because they've won
31-26 with the game.
Yeah. So and so certainly you would have some games that you lost, but maybe won. So there's a lot of games that are decided by 1 score in the NFL. I do think, however, that this Lions team has been able to get separation from a number of teams, during the year. Look at the Saints game where I feel like they're winning, they're in control, and the Saints are able to get things going offensively against the Lions in the second half. I don't think any result in the playoffs would surprise me. I really don't. And them losing in the first round, would surprise me. I think more of this Lions team. I think more of the collective talent they've got, the depth of what they've got over the course of the whole roster, and their offensive line. When the offensive line is healthy and available, all 5 of them, I think that they can beat anybody in the NFC. I really do.
Now, I could be wrong about this. So if we did that, we followed that formula that you said, flip those ones. So we had a 1 score, we won 21-20 against Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
At a loss.
Right.
We lost 37-31 in overtime to Seattle, make that a win.
It's the same record, yeah.
Same record. Then we won 20-6 against the Falcons, 34-20 versus Green Bay, 42-24 against Carolina, 20-6 against the Bucks. We lost 38-6 versus the Ravens. We won 26-14 versus Vegas. We won 41-38 versus the Chargers, 31-26 versus the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
We lost 29-22 versus the Packers. We won 33-28 versus the Saints. And we lost 28-13 versus the Bears. And then we just beat the Vikings 30-24, our record would have only been off like 2 games.
Right.
That's crazy.
So the point that graphic was trying to make is there's certain teams that have won or lost a number of one-score games. Like I believe the Bills went from in this scenario that we're talking about being 9-6, which I believe is a record right now, to 12-3, I think, something like that. So again, the Ravens' record stayed the same. I think the Dolphins had one less win and one more loss. I think the Lions are a team that'll compete with anybody. Number one. Number two, if you have the whole offensive line there, that reduces the chances of turnovers. And we know in the last 2 years, Ben Johnson's offense, when things have gone bad, is when they turn the football over a lot. When they turn the football over a lot, they put the defense in bad situations. And this is not a great defense. It's just not, no matter what point in the season you want to focus on. So for me, the formula is offensive line being healthy. Don't turn the football over. And hopefully get a turnover yourself through the newer, quote, style of play that Aaron Glenn and those guys are relying on. I think that formula is a realistic one against any team in the NFC, and that includes the 49ers, Eagles, and Cowboys. But, hey, we'll find out this Saturday when they play the Cowboys. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe the Cowboys will take it to them and show us that the Lions aren't, quote, for real. But I don't even think a loss in Dallas says all that.
I got a weird theory about excuse me. I got a weird theory about these last 2 games. Okay. I find it intriguing that Hendon Hooker is added to the 53-man roster, right? So they can practice with him and stuff like that, right? I think the Lions are going to look at it and say, you know what? We're going to go out here. We're going to play every game to win, right? And starting with the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to win. But if we don't, we're guaranteed the 3rd spot.
Right.
And what I'm not going to do is mortgage players due to injury to fight for a spot 1 up or down. I can care less who my opponent is. I'm going to be at home either way it go. Right?
Yeah, I got no problem with that. I can't argue with that.
So the other part of it is I believe that by doing that, let's say that they do lose to that. I think that last game against the Vikings, if it doesn't change their position at all, like for number 1 seed or not, I think now, in my opinion, do I want to see the Lions try to break their team's record for most wins in the season of 12? Yeah, 13 to do that, right? But yeah, I think they're going to try to play Hendon Hooker the last game of the season and try to rest as many of their players for the playoffs as possible.
Yeah,
and I think
nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me.
It wouldn't put it out. Now I do got one more question, and then we can wrap this thing up, because this question right here is one that I got to talk about: the success of the rookies. Jahmyr Gibbs. I want to know, why do you think certain rookies are having success on this team, and others we are still waiting to see something from? And by that I mean the Broderick Martins. God, I'm drawing a blank.
I mean, opportunity. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a 2-week period there. Maybe it was 3, but I think it was 2 weeks where Montgomery wasn't available, right? So Gibbs is your guy during those 2 games. Clearly, he gets. I think it was the Bucks game. No, Montgomery got hurt in the Bucks game, right?
Yep.
So I think he did give it a go the next week against the Ravens, but I might be wrong. So you have opportunity, number 1. Number 2, depth at the position, which is related to opportunity. Let's just, for example, in a fictitious world, say that David Montgomery wasn't able to play a single snap all year. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs' carries are going to be a whole heck of a lot more than they are right now. His touches, right? If the Lions didn't have Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone, 2 capable inside linebackers, Malcolm Rodriguez as well, then Jack Campbell would be playing more snaps. I don't know if that really applies for Sam Laporta. I think you could have 1 or 2 more Brock Wrights on this team, and Sam Laporta is still going to be on the field all the time. He's just different. The difference for Sam and the same thing applies to Brian Branch. Them two dudes, they may be at their position more talented than Gibbs and Campbell, the first round picks, which sounds crazy to say because Gibbs has had a fantastic rookie year, but Laporta and Branch are just different kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The Lions they're trending towards so much record breaking this year. They have a chance to have the first team with 2,000-yard receivers and 2,000-yard rushers.
Unreal.
That's huge. But yeah, I look at people who did get opportunity, and I botch people's names left and right. You're gonna learn that I suck with pronouncing people's names if they don't give me the direct pronunciation themselves. But like Kobe Sorsdale, like dude, you were given so many opportunities. It's just rough. It was very much rough. But you look at it, like, to me, I thought Jack Campbell started out slow. He's starting to get a little bit more, and this is one of the things I always say to Lions fans, like you don't understand how important it is to have rhythm. And it's the same thing with the running backs.
Oh, yeah.
You got to give them rhythm. But Antoine Green, they go out and add another receiver, and I'm like, why is Antoine Green not able?
Is that 80?
That's 80.
Yeah.
So why is he not able to unseat some of these other people, but yet you go out and get Donovan Peoples-Jones? So, and granted, some people are going to say, oh, those are late round picks. I'm like, don't you want to hit on the picks that's higher? Yeah, I want to hit on the higher picks. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, like, these guys are not succeeding with the help around them. That's where the problem's coming in at.
Yeah.
I noticed. Go ahead.
I noticed a couple of times here recently that now I believe, didn't Montgomery suffer some type of injury last week against the Vikings?
I don't recall if he got hurt last week against the Vikings.
I know there was, let me do it this way. I know there was a 3-possession stretch where Gibbs was on the field a lot.
But see, that right there, and see, that's right there when I talk about them patterns and them trends, that was one of the few times where he just Ben Johnson said, this the hot hand. They had a hard time dealing with Gibbs' speed.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that Montgomery was hurt. No. What it was they had a harder time dealing with Gibbs making one cut and getting off to the races.
I do like recently when I see like a whole possession that's Gibbs or a whole possession that's Montgomery, and there was even, I want to say the Saints game, but I could be wrong. There was a stretch where I thought one of them was hurt because the other one was in for like 2.5 whole possessions. And I'm not a huge fan of like rotating the running backs like in and out each play. I kind of feel like as a coach, okay, we run the outside zone and you did this and it worked, or we run the outside zone and you did that and it didn't work. Let's adjust it now. I'd like to have the same guy in there for the adjustment, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. The running back split sometimes drive me nuts. It just drives me nuts. Like if you go back, and I hate to go to other teams because people don't like to hear this, but the truth is, go back to the Steelers. When they ran the ball with Jerome Bettis, it was Jerome Bettis. Everybody else was relief. I'm not saying we got to get there, but we're already doing old school ball at this point. Smash mouth. That's stay with it. And when you have a high hand, when David Montgomery is getting off, he's getting off. Now, fun fact: Jahmyr Gibbs needs 128 yards over the next 2 games to break 1,000. And if you break that up,
sounds right.
That's 64 yards a game. That seems very plausible. David Montgomery just needs 90. 45 yards a game.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he missed, was it 2 whole games this year?
He missed.
I know Gibbs missed 1.
He missed
right?
more than that.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, because we in week 17. So he's only played 12 games.
Okay, so he's missed more than, and that doesn't surprise me because first of all, the dude runs hard.
Yeah,
he runs hard, And there was some games there where the offensive line was not complete, meaning completely healthy. And I thought he took some shots that he would not otherwise take if all 5 offensive linemen was there. I'm not so much fired up about the rotation of the running backs. I will say this: it is nice to have 2 of them who can take the lead. It sure
This
is
is
a
true.
blessing
This is
because now of the 2, Gibbs is the guy who can take a handoff from your own 25-yard line and take it to the house. That's a huge blessing and a skill set that well, Montgomery did have a 75-yarder against the Chargers too. Don't get me wrong. So there is something to be said about the big playability of Gibbs and Ben Johnson's willingness and capability to scheme Gibbs open on run plays or pass plays and pick up chunk yardage, 14, 15, 16, 18 yards. Just changes the dynamic of the possession completely. I do like the duo, even though there's times where I'd like to see one or the other used, a little bit more often.
And for me, I just like the fact that they got back to committing to the run, because there was times earlier in the season where I was like, why are we getting away from the run? Even later in the season, there were times where we kind of got away from it with some of the cuter calls. I'm like, I don't get, like you said, that he got 2 play call sheets.
Yeah.
There's something going on. But again, those are the small things.
It's going to be an interesting game against the Cowboys because their run defense compared to their pass defense is a relative weakness. And I'm of the opinion, like, I would not mess around with Bland at all. I'm going to leave that dude alone. But of course, that means they're going to put him on St. Brown, and now you got that matchup.
I love that matchup. Yeah,
I do, but I just Bland looks like one of them dudes when the ball's nearby. If it ain't on target, it sticks to it like a creative player in Madden or college football. The ball just seems to stick to his hands. It's crazy.
What was the game? Was it the Vikings game? Was it the Vikings or it was either the Vikings or the Seahawks game where they literally were just picking on Bland? It had to be the Seahawks game. I feel like it was, because
there was one I had film of. I was almost doing a film study on him. I saw that too, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like 6 targets." Where I agree.
And he was like, "Oh man, they coming at me." So I don't want to keep you too much longer. I do want to, I want to let the people know one more time where you are and stuff like that. But man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I got so many other thoughts running through my head and so many other things. The next time, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up like 1 or 2 plays, and we get like some viewpoints on it.
That'd be great.
Hopefully it's something like I want to do something before the playoff game happen, if that's possible. If not, we'll figure it out. But man, I cannot thank you enough for doing this.
No, thank you, man. I mean, it's my pleasure. I remember, beginning a YouTube channel and not having any idea where things was going to go, and not being sure that I would like to do stuff like this because I didn't know that my voice or my style would carry over. Because to be real with you, as a coach, I'm a little bit abrasive. I'm a little bit tough to handle because it's got to be done, my way. And what I've learned with the film study piece is that everybody comes at the game from different angles. And so my role, my attempt, my focus is to try to be a person who just kind of communicates to people, hey, this is what I see happening. And over the course of doing that, hopefully I can point things out to people that maybe they didn't notice or they weren't aware of. So I would love to do that, together, because I learn things from other people all the time. Even on the videos I make, people are like, hey man, you didn't say anything about the left guard. I'm like, well, shit, that's because I didn't notice it, So
Right.
that's just reality.
Right. No, I mean, listen, I love what you do. You be dropping videos on other people. I'd be like, yeah, I gotta see what's going on over here, because it's informative. It's very detailed. It's well thought out, and you know what? It's easy to follow. And I always tell people like I watch the games with no volume on, because a lot of times the commentators are there to distract you with stuff that didn't even happen. They'll say something like, "Oh my God, Aiden Hutchinson almost had a sack there," and I'm like, not even close. Or they'll say something like, "Oh, that should have been called as a penalty." Nope, should not have. It shouldn't have. Or that was a great call by the refs. So I don't you listen to it with the volume on. But when you drop something, you're one of the few channels who I got notification bell set on. I'm like, yeah, ding.
Thank you.
Okay, let me go watch that. Let me go see what's going on over here. And so I appreciate what you're doing. So the way I like to end the show is I always give people their final thoughts. If you already gave your final thought, that's cool. But if you want to give your final thoughts, let them know what the channel is. It's already linked in the description, but still let them know what the channel is. And then I'm going to close it with a positive note.
Well, my YouTube channel is pretty self-explanatory, all 22 films, and I'll put this out there. I've had some questions on the channel here recently. I have full intention of doing the same exact thing in 2024, covering the Ravens and the Lions. So I wanted to get that out. If people listen this long, then they heard it out. I guess I'll put it on my channel as well. I got full intentions of doing the same thing, and in hopes that these two teams meet in the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, or 3 years in a row. I would love to see them play again in 2023. We're a long way off from that. Both teams got a lot of work to do between now and then, and they'll certainly have opportunities. Both of them have clinched playoff spots. I enjoy the challenge of trying to break down two teams' films for people. And if there's people like yourself who cross over and watch film on my channel from someone else, from another team, I should say, I think all the better, because I really look at my role was to try to just bring awareness to certain things that maybe announcers, broadcast people, or talking heads on TV, don't ever really point out. So if I'm able to do that well enough that you got my notifications on, that's amazing, and I feel blessed to hear that from you and other people who comment. So thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Now listen, this is weird. It's on my phone, but now it's not showing up here. This is one of the things about YouTube, people, that you got to pay attention to. You see, I'm clearly subscribed. I clearly watch every freaking video. Why is it not showing here? It's beyond me. But my phone, it shows up every single time. I don't.
Interesting. The crossover between devices.
Yeah, it's
things
something
aren't
going on there.
synced, huh?
But make no mistake, like, he had a whole breakdown. He was showing. I'm gonna botch this damn D tackle's name. Maduk. Nope, that's not how you say it.
Matabike.
Yep, you got it.
We call him the Mad Raven, because he's like Thanos. He's just something different.
But I watched that breakdown and I was like, why can I have that on the Lions? Why can I have a tackle like that on the Lions? We had that with Sue, but that's just living in the past. But good people, I thank y'all for rocking with me. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I plan to be live again later on today. After this drops, probably, hopefully later on in the afternoon. It's just this flu whooped me. I mean, it whooped me. It wasn't worse than COVID, but it was definitely bad. Y'all know me. I can't end the show unless I end it on a positive note. And today's positive quote comes from the internet, because I don't know who said it, but I love it. Well, they said that it's time for you to put yourself under construction. It's time for you to put yourself under construction. See, when you're getting your shit together, it gets lonely. But I'm a caution you to choose growth over company. This is some deep stuff right here. It gets a little heavy. Sometimes, you might need to be a lone wolf in order to get what you need out of your life. Sometimes you can't take nobody to the mountaintop. Some people just want to hang on to you, which means they want to drag along and have you be slowed down, because they don't have the same motivation as you. See, when you put yourself under construction, you're trying to do something for you. You're trying to build you up. And there are some people who don't like the new you. See, the old you was easier to manipulate. The old you was easier to break. The old you was easier to get money from. The old you was easier to dump their problems on. The old you was easier to be there when they needed to be there. The new you seems to be more concerned about itself. And when you're under that level of construction, don't get caught up in the company. Look for the growth. Look for the building blocks of yourself. Look for the happiness in yourself. Look for the joy in yourself. You ever sit down once and have a meal by yourself and go watch a movie by yourself and date yourself legitimately? You ever had a moment where you told yourself good job and patted yourself on the back? You ever talk to yourself and tell you how good you have been doing over the past year, 2 years, and going into the future? You ever tell yourself how many small victories you had in over this little short period of time? If you didn't do any of those things, I'm going to ask you to remember that you are under construction. And when you are under construction, you have no time to be concerning yourself with the company, but with the growth of yourself. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you ain't done so already. And if you ain't subscribed to my man, Coach DC, at All 22 Films, please make sure you do so as well. And as always, you know my saying, don't be no chump. Please do your research. We are out.